And we have really used this budget to make real progress on the things the priorities that we've been discussing.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for me.
Oh man, we absolutely love that. But we also love that you get to engage with us. So if you have any questions with regards to the budget or today's topic, hit us up on our WhatsApp line on 061 862 1065 or SMS 32158. But please be advised that SMSs are charged at R1. Now, Geordin, turning to the topic of this evening, you recently tabled your first draft budget for 2022-2023 financial year. What informed the structure of this budget and its allocations?
Okay, sure. So obviously you start with the previous year's budget, and then you look at what do you want to do to make sure that you reflect the priorities of what we want to do in this government over the next 5 years. And we've discussed this several times on the show, and Cape Townians have heard me talking about this everywhere. I hope I have set some pretty clear priorities for what I think Cape Town should be focusing on over the next 5 years. Those are becoming the first city in the country that is load shedding free.
Yeah.
It is making Cape Town safer by deploying hundreds of new law enforcement officers and the latest crime fighting tech. Creating new jobs in Cape Town by making it the easiest place in Africa to do business. By getting public transport working and fighting for more control over our passenger rail system, which isn't working. By doing our basics better and investing in infrastructure across the city, by getting more affordable housing. And then finally, one thing that anyone who has seen me knows that I'm obsessed about, cleaning up around the city. So those were our priorities, Lerato, and we wanted our budget to reflect those priorities, and it does.
Now, of course, starting with the first priority, which you've mentioned, was end load shedding in Cape Town. You previously mentioned that load shedding is the biggest handbrake on the economy and that the city is working towards being the first load shedding free city in South Africa. Please just elaborate on how the allocations for the energy related projects enable the city to move closer to this goal.
Well, this is so relevant again this week, Lerato, because there are some people who are probably want to listen to this show but cannot listen to it because of load shedding. We're back in load shedding.
Yeah.
And so, it is just underscored how important it is that we make or try to work to ensure that Cape Town is the first city in the country that is free of load shedding. So we are pushing really hard on that. The other reason it's not just about load shedding, it's because the price of electricity from Eskom, the annual increases are just unaffordable. This year they asked for 20.5%. We fought that very hard, and we thank Cape Townians for helping us do that. But we still ended up with 9.6%. So that's too expensive. So we've got to bring down the price over time by freeing ourselves from Eskom, protecting our residents from load shedding, and ending load shedding in the city. So we've done a lot of that in this budget, 3.5 billion rand for investment in electricity infrastructure. We've put out our first round of procurement to buy so-called independent power, essentially solar and wind power. And so we've started that journey. That's not to say that we'll end load shedding overnight, but we have started, and we're moving quite quickly and aggressively on that journey.
Definitely. Now, I like the fact that you mentioned that you've started, the journey itself. Now, we want you also to be part of that conversation. If you have any questions, have any thing that you'd like to add on this program, please do send in those WhatsApps on 061 862 1065. I'll repeat it slower. It's 061 862 1065. Now, a safer city, talk to us about the allocations for safety, which are 5.4 billion rand is allocated for, including more officers on the ground.
Yep. This is so important. It doesn't matter where I go in the city, every community, every person lists safety as a major concern. And we want residents in Cape Town to feel safer. And I'm really excited about this because we were elected on the pledge of hundreds of new law enforcement officers. And in our very first year in this budget, we are already achieving 230 new law enforcement and Metro Police officers in the city coming up in this brand new budget year. That is a huge new investment. We are investing tens of millions in what we call safety tech. That's the kind of gunshot location technology, 50 million rand for CCTV CCTV, more CCTV cameras,
Mm.
dashboard cameras for all of our officers and their vehicles, drone technology for eyes in the sky above the city at all times. We are making big investments so that you can feel safer as residents, because we know that while the South African Police Service carries the primary responsibility, and it's very important for everyone to remember that they carry the primary responsibility for crime prevention and investigation, we know that that organization is having huge difficulties at the moment, and their budgets are being slashed, and we cannot wait around for those problems to be fixed. We have to do more now to protect residents from criminals, and also protect them from the decline of the SAPS service.
Mm.
So that is what we are doing. Hundreds of law enforcement officers, lots of crime technology, crime fighting technology to help make Cape Town safer.
And now, how is the city of Cape Town supporting economic recovery and growth?
Well, firstly, we've got to get our tourists back. And I must say, we had some great news this week. I should have mentioned this as a highlight, that our international tourism visitors are at 82% of what they were
Oh,
before
wow.
COVID. So we are just 18% away from being back to 2019 levels, which
Sure.
makes me so excited.
Oh, wow.
So we're still not there, but we are really much closer than we have been in the last 2.5 years. And that is very exciting. So we want to get those tourists back. So we're spending more than ever on advertising Cape Town to the world, on advertising this as a great place to come on holiday, to spend your dollars and your euros, and to support our local tourism economy. We're spending 424 million rand on investment promotion, not just for tourists, but to bring your business here. Come and start your business or invest your business here in Cape Town. 53 million rand for upgrading our informal traders, those wonderful entrepreneurs who, whether it be that lady that's selling cooked food on the side of the road, or some sweets and chips and chocolates on the side of the road, to the vegetable seller, you name it. If you're an informal trader in Cape Town, we love you. We know how important you are in the economy, and we're budgeting to support you. And then what I'm very excited about, 55 million for what we call our Jobs Connect and Employment Accelerator programs. This is where we go and help artisans to do training. We help small businesses to figure out how to run a business successfully. We put some small businesses in our unused city facilities, and so we're budgeting more for that. Everything that we do, Lorato, everything is about growing this economy. Whether it even what I've just said about safety, it also has an economic growth aspect, because we know that is the best way to get people out of poverty and help to grow our city.
Definitely. Now, if you've just tuned in, we are, of course, talking to the Cape Town Mayor, Geordin Hill-Lewis, talking to us about the draft budget that is, of course, set a bold ambition for more prosperous, safe, and dignified Cape Town. Now, if you have any questions, please do send in those WhatsApps on our WhatsApp line on 061 862 1065. That is, of course, 061 862 1065. Or you can send in those WhatsApps on 32158. But please be advised that SMSs are charged at 1 Rand. Now, of course, we do have a question right here that is from Maurice that says, and I quote, "How much will go to the Cape Flats? Our kids are dying." Wow.
Well, that's Maurice. Thank you for that question. I'm presuming you're talking about safety,
Yes.
given the second half of your question. Most of that budget, most of those 230 additional officers, on top of the 1,000 additional officers under the so-called LEAP program that JP and I spoke about on the last show, most of that is going directly to the Cape Flats. And Maurice, it is showing results. You have reason to feel encouraged. I know that it is still far too high. Of course, so long as there is a single child dying at the hand of gangsters in Cape Town, we've still got more work to do. But there's reason to feel encouraged, Maurice. We are seeing significant drops in violent crime on the Cape Flats, in Mitchell's Plain, in Bishop Lavis, in Grassy Park, in Kraaifontein, Younger, Crossroads. Let me tell you, this is now the only city in the country where violent crime is coming down. That's an extraordinary thing. So we recognize there is a great deal of work to do. We are pumping hundreds of millions into more officers, drones in the sky, gunshot technology, the gunshot location technology, CCTV, mainly in all of those hotspot violent areas. We want Maurice and his children and his grandchildren to feel safer. But let's also take a moment to reflect on the progress that is actually being made.
And we have another WhatsApp here that says, Evening, Lerato and Mayor. Want to know what is the budget for community safety? How much? Because we've seen this neighborhood watch and walking bus project, as well as all the other volunteering to keep the city safe. Still no stipend for them since January to April. Minister without portfolio in Kailicha. Wow, interesting.
Minister without portfolio,
Yeah.
thank you for your question. The total budget is 5.6 billion rand.
Yes.
And then the provincial government gives us another roughly 400 million rand for LEAP. And LEAP, for those who didn't listen to the last show, is a project where we put 1,000 officers in the 10 worst hotspots. And I've just cited some of those results, encouraging results when in answer to Maurice's question. So to the questioner, Minister, the total budget is 5.6 billion. And we are focusing that mainly on more officers, 230 in this budget, and more technology. You know, one of the surprising things that I learned when I came and spoke to our Metro Police Chief, I said, Metro Police Chief, we are ready to make a massive investment on more boots on the ground. He said to me, thank you very much. Please do that. But also, what is just as important is that technology. Cape Town has got to lead the way with crime-fighting technology when it comes to cameras and drones and so on. And so we are doing that.
And then we also have another WhatsApp here that says, and I quote, crime intelligent networks, we need to focus on that. That is also from Maurice. So I hope that also pays in. But now a little bit more dignity. Please pledge 5 speaks to the expansion of rate relief.
Yep, this is very important for those who are struggling to make ends meet at the moment. We know, Lorato, that many of our families in Cape Town have had a really difficult time the last few years.
Yeah.
We know that COVID has cost lots of jobs. It's cost lots of livelihoods. We've lost loved ones. So we know people are going through tough times, and we are a caring city that makes provision for that in our budget. So, for example, we are budgeting 3.75 billion rand for rates relief and free basic services for the indigent. And I encourage everyone listening to this show who thinks that they may qualify as under our indigency program to make application at your nearest city office. You can find the qualifying criteria online. You can speak to your councillor, speak to your local council office, make application. If you are struggling to pay as well, Lorato, we have budgeted 4 billion rand for debt write-off.
Okay.
To try and help people get rid of that historical debt, the debt that they may have built up now over COVID, and to start from a clean page. But you can only do that if you meet certain criteria and if you come to us and make application. Do you know that at this point, we still have the majority of that budget unclaimed?
Oh, wow.
So people have got to take advantage of those opportunities. Please go out there and make use of these. And I can tell you that we now have the most wide-ranging, biggest social relief, free basic service allocation in South Africa. So that is another thing that people can be proud of living in Cape Town. It's not just about bringing foreign tourists here. It's also about caring for those who really need it.
Now, speaking about that, what interventions were not related to addressing homelessness?
Okay, well, everyone around Cape Town, no matter where you live, can see that there is a real issue. We've had a huge increase in the number of people living homeless during COVID. And so we've got to address that. And for a long time, there's been a kind of rugby match, a tussle, an argument between who is responsible for this in government. Is it social development? Is it housing? Is it provincial government? Is it national government? And what I've just said is what we've got to do is grab the bull by the horns and start doing something. So we are going to be providing what we call a care intervention program. Every single one of those people, and it's starting right now, every one of our residents living homeless will receive a visit from a social worker. We will try and help them get into an addiction program if they need one, a mental health clinic if they need one, help them to get an ID book if they need one, try and do what we can to help them off the streets. We're also going to invest 140 million in alternative accommodation. which is expanding our safe spaces project, which doesn't give houses. We understand that there's many other people out there waiting for houses, so we can't give a house, but we can give a dignified uh, place of accommodation, like a safe space, where the homeless can go to live, so that they do not need to live on the streets in undignified, unsafe, unhealthy environment. And so that is happening. That work has already begun.
Now, dignity also means quality water and sanitation infrastructure. What's in the pipeline, so to speak?
So to speak, exactly. I like that. So yes, this is something that I'm passionate about, because Cape Town has got these beautiful coastline, beautiful oceans. We've got these lovely water bodies, and we've got to be proud of them and keep them clean, so that our kids can play in them, their kids can play in them, that they can be available to be this kind of shining attraction in Cape Town. But many of those rivers and flays, and even some of our oceans, are not clean in Cape Town. So we've got work to do to ensure that we have clean rivers and flays, and we've put a lot of money into that in this budget, and that people have got dignity, and that our sewage system can keep up with the growth of the city and the growth of our population. So we're putting serious infrastructure investment into pipe replacement, into upgrading our sewage works and our pump stations. And just one exciting fact, Lorato, for listeners, we will be not doubling, not tripling, but quadrupling our budget for pipe replacements across the city. That's your water pipes and your sewer pipes. We're going to be doing more than 100 kilometers of replacement a year. Just think about how far 100 kilometers is.
Yeah.
Every year we're going to replace that much pipes in our city.
Now, we also have a WhatsApp here that says, and I quote, "Good evening, Mayor. Over the weekend, a fire broke out in Singabalapa settlement in Observatory. The organization blames the city for refusing to provide basic services such as water and electricity. What exactly is the mayor's response to this?"
Well, I know, I'm familiar with with that informal settlement. It is obviously not where people should be living. That is essentially, it's not an approved informal settlement in that sense. This is one of the communities that I hope will be able to benefit from the alternative accommodation that we are creating, and the affordable housing pipeline that we are working on releasing. The alternative accommodation that we are investing in now will, of course, have access to basic services, but that is an extremely dense informal settlement. There are too many people there. That is not where people should be building structures. It's not healthy or good for them to be living there. And it's important that we work together with the local community, with the residents there, to find suitable alternatives.
Now, of course, let's hit the road. Let's hit the road and briefly touch on the key projects like the expansion of the My City bus services over the next year and long term.
Yeah, exactly. Because we know we've got such a problem with our rail network in Cape Town, which is basically, well, with the exception of the southern line, that crucial central line is not running. And so we are protecting residents from this and picking up the slack by expanding and investing massively to the tune of about 8 billion rand, a huge investment in the expansion of the My City bus system into the Metro Southeast. That's Khayelitsha, Mitchell's Plain, Philippi, Crossroads, Nyanga, linking to Wynberg, Claremont. So that is a huge public transport expansion that will start in the next year or 18 months or so. And the tenders for that are busy going out. And that's very exciting. We're going to see huge construction in public transport investment taking place around the city in the years ahead.
Now, speaking about public transport and transport in general, we have a WhatsApp here that says, and I quote, "Good evening. I'm a female residing in the southern suburbs and would like to start a transport business with only females as clients. My question to the mayor is, when is the moratorium going to be lifted regarding permits, please?"
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I'm working on this. I don't know what your name is, ma'am, but thank you for sending that in. I think that we should try to lift this moratorium as quickly as we possibly can. I'm working with the transport department to make sure that happens. I think that it has been long enough now. We've got to get some key information from the existing e-hailing applicants. And once we've got that information, which we've already written to them asking for, once we've got all that information back, I believe that there's nothing standing in our way to lift that moratorium.
Definitely. Now, of course, the Integrated Development Plan is also out for comment. Please just tell us about the process of public comment and the feedback you've received in some of the sessions. Is public comment period still open as well?
Yeah, it is open, but not for that much longer. It closes
Okay.
on the 22nd of April, which is next week,
Next week,
Friday.
yes.
Yeah. You can comment at any of our council offices. You can comment online at capetown.gov.za. And just to repeat, the IDP, it's a acronym that government likes to use. It stands for Integrated Development Plan. It's a really important document. It basically sets out what the priorities are for our government for the next 5 years.
Okay.
And gives you a real feel with some detail, more detail than you can go into in this radio interview or any radio interview, about what we are planning to do and where and how we are planning to do it. So I really encourage people to take part in it. We've had public meetings all over the city. There's another one tonight, actually, which our Deputy Mayor, Eddie Andrews, I must say, Eddie's doing an amazing job chairing these public meetings all over the place. And I know that ward councillors are doing the same. Thank you to those ward councillors who are doing the same. Sub councils are doing the same as well. So there's lots of engagement around the city. Please do take part.
Definitely. Now we have another WhatsApp here that says, could the mayor please indicate how much has been allocated for healthcare? And also if you could give an update on the situation regarding the closure of clinics in Mitchell's Plain area.
Okay, so what we are trying to do, remember that constitutionally, the provincial government has got a much bigger mandate for healthcare. They run enormous hospitals all over the city, as you know. They run day hospitals. So we have got relatively small, outpatient-focused primary healthcare clinics. That's what we have. Now, the provincial government does a great job. They run the best healthcare system on the African continent. There's no doubt in my mind about that. The best healthcare system on the African continent. So it makes sense for us to start slowly but surely handing over our small community health clinics to the provincial government one by one. So we are transferring 9 of our clinics to the provincial government, and they'll take over those transfers, and services will continue essentially. So there's no closure there. There were 2 facilities, 2 very small facilities, which are actually already closed. They were closed at the beginning of 2021 already. They will remain closed. And the others, that's it. There are no other closures. So I know that there was a story going around 9 closures. No, that actually refers to the number that are being transferred to the provincial government. And that really is it.
Now, of course, we will be shortly reaching the conclusion of this evening's shows, but please summarize your vision for a prosperous Cape Town.
Well, everyone who's listening, every Cape Townian, I think people are feeling a bit downcast about the future of South Africa. And particularly this week, as we see, some really tough scenes happening to our friends and family in KZN, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. But I really want there to be a place in South Africa that gives people a sense of optimism and hope for the future. Not to say that we'll always get it right, but that we'll always try to get it right and to do our absolute best. That we'll look after your money, that we'll spend it wisely on you, the residents, that we will try to keep you safer, that we'll try to make public transport work and get the economy growing. We'll do all the things necessary to, over time, make this a prosperous society and show every resident what is possible in our country when you have a competent, capable, honest government that does its best. And that's really what we want to do in Cape Town, for Cape Town to be that place, for Cape Town to be that example. There's lots of tough issues that we have to deal with, but that is what we are working towards.
That does, of course, bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much to, of course, our Cape Town Mayor, Geordin Hill-Lewis, as well as to the listeners that have been tuned in throughout the show, online as well as at home. Do join us. Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Loretta. Just before you close, I just want to say that we are starting a very important weekend in many people's lives. So for those who are already in the midst of the fast, are we nearly halfway? Yeah, we might be nearly halfway already. Ramadan Mubarak to you, and to those who are celebrating Easter this weekend, a very blessed Easter. And to those celebrating Passover, happy Passover. May it be a safe, wonderful, happy weekend together with your family.
I don't want to say anything. All I want to say is thank you so much, Geordin. I will see you again, and this time next month. Yes, which feels like next week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much to all the listeners, and most importantly for participating in the show. Like we said, same time, same place next month, where we will be discussing yet another important conversation with, of course, the Cape Town Mayor, Geordin Hill-Lewis, right here.
As he talks, he paints a picture with words and with gestures.